Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. Of course, it is Women's History Month, so every single episode will be featuring a Black woman, whether it be in sports or any other field that may be. Again, if you don't like it, go tune into something else. It is what it is. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But on this episode, of course, we're going to the City of Champions right now. We would call it. But it'd be Kansas City. And that would be Miss Jodi Newsom. What's going on?
Hello. Feels good being a champion for like day 395 at this point. It's great over here.
I hear you. You know, you beat my team, but it's all right though. It's all right.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get into a little bit of Kansas City talk, not just the football, but other stuff and more in this episode as we get to know Jodi a little bit more. But first, of course, we got to talk about the Black Girl Magic part of the show. Of course, we highlight someone I think needs to be recognized for essentially their Black Girl Magic, and that would be Miss Dawn Staley. Now, Dawn Staley, you can point out, one obvious thing that, of course, they had a different starting lineup last year than they had this year, and they still went undefeated. That's a great thing. But one thing that you can always talk about with Dawn Staley, she is always going to handle a situation with class, grace, and those different things. Now, of course, everyone remembers what happened in the SEC championship game, and people have had all their opinions and thoughts and whatever on it. But, of course, that happened, and all the players on the bench for both teams essentially were thrown out of the game. However, what I will point out is, a particular coach of LSU made it about a 6'7" player attacking or going at a player for their teammate, which obviously if someone attacked my teammate or push my teammate, I'm going to go defend my teammate too. Absolutely. So it is what it is. But of course, she wanted to make it sound like, oh, she should have went and pushed Angel Reese, and I'm like, it just didn't make sense. The math wasn't mathing when it came to that. However, I don't want to show her press conference and those different things. What I do want to show is the right way to handle things, the calm way to handle things, and the classy way to handle things, which is Miss Dawn Staley. Check this clip out right here. And for those listening, take a listen.
You lost 5 nations, your 8th SEC championship in 10 years. How did you get it done today? I mean, the players. It's all about the players being able to make plays on both sides of the basketball. I just want to apologize to the basketball community. When you're playing in championship games like this, in our league, things get heated. No bad intentions. They just tried, their emotions got so far ahead of them that sometimes these things happen. So I want to apologize for us playing a part in that, because that's not who we are and that's not what we're about. But I'm happy for the players that were able to finish the game and get us another championship.
Coach, how will you address this with your team?
We're going to talk about it. We've always talked about it. Never leave the bench. Never get too high with the highs or low with the lows. It's hard when you're playing. I played this game a long time, and I can't tell you I was a saint at all times. Okay? Your emotions get the best of you. It's unfortunate that the players that got ejected can't be a part of the celebration.
Yes, Miss Dawn Staley, you are the Black Girl Magic moment, because you took a situation that could have got worse with what you said. You smoothed it on out. You essentially were the Black Mama of the room. The Black Mama of the room, because of course we all know, we all have moms. Of course, our moms see us get in situations, but hey, a lot of times they come in, they smooth that situation on out, and I had to show nothing but the utmost respect to Miss Dawn Staley. She's not only a champion in the literal sense, but she's a champion the figurative sense as well, in terms of how she handles herself, how she stands up for her team, protects her kids and her players. I just have to salute her. Do you have anything you want to add, Jodi?
I do. Dawn Staley is the GOAT, right? She is 32-0 for a reason. She has multiple championships for a reason. The epitome of class. Like, she is, because I watched the SEC championship game, because there's no way you're missing South Carolina versus LSU, like the best game of the day on Sunday. And just being able to sit there and listen to how she was able to not only control that situation, but to be just readily on the spot and able to answer that question in the way that she did. And, they didn't even ask her like what her thoughts were. She just came out front and was like, I think it's important to apologize to, to the sport, to the people watching and things of that nature. And it just speaks so highly of who she is as an individual. And, she could go to the WNBA and be a head coach easily, right? But she's not leaving South Carolina. She's so good there. She's so good with her players. She is just everything that you would want in a head coach. And I mean, I love Don. That's my girl. I love Don. And she had the Gucci suit on down, okay? So I love Don. She is who she is, and she's just a class act. And she's her natural self, which is something else I also love, because she doesn't have to turn on this persona to be what she needs to be for the TV. She's her genuine self, and that is why people love her. So shout out to Coach Don Staley for being a dog, because that's exactly what she is.
Also, you got to say, she does wear what she wants to wear, and if anybody has a problem with it, she will definitely address that at the mic, too. When she wore her Philly jersey, you remember that? And people were talking about that?
She's so funny. I love her. She is her natural self, and that is why people gravitate to her, because of the energy that she brings, who she is as an individual, what she does for the league. She's so good. So I love what she's doing for women's basketball from a collegiate standpoint, and she's pushing out all of these great players to the W. And they're even in the league, and they're now being a force on the different teams they are. Asia Wilson, right? So I mean, they're also out here being a force on the teams that they are too, and it's because she is training these girls up right before she gets them out there. So
yes, definitely got to show love to Don Staley. But of course, we got to show love to you too. You were on the show, of course, and this show is about you. So, we're gonna go back to young Jodi. We're gonna get to Jodi now, but we're gonna go back to young Jodi, like little Jodi.
Oh,
now,
okay.
Of course, for those that don't know, can you tell them just about growing up in Kansas City?
Man, Kansas City's fun. I love Kansas City. I'm gonna just say this: we get all 4 seasons. Like, we're on this show right now, and I cannot promise that I might not get hit by a tornado, because we are under a tornado watch, a thunderstorm watch, a tornado watch. It's gonna be chaos tonight. So I'm sitting here also kind of looking out my mirror. I'm at my window, making sure that I don't blow away. But I love Kansas City. We get all 4 seasons. We're known for barbecue. Like, best barbecue in the nation is housed out of Kansas City. And people, even though we are a small market, people don't understand we are a very big sports city. Always been Kansas City Chiefs, always been Kansas City Royals, and our collegiate teams are great too. People love KU, people love Mizzou, people love K-State. So I mean, we're slowly turning into one of the sports meccas of the world now, because the Chiefs have kind of put us on the map, but we have always been this way. The Big 12 has been in Kansas City. You get women's Big 12 basketball here, you get men's Big 12 basketball here, and we just found out that, if you didn't know this, Women's Soccer League, the National Women's Soccer League, the first stadium ever built is in Kansas City as well. And they just announced too that they're going to host Big 12 soccer matches here too in that new stadium too. So I love Kansas City, and I'm super proud of it and everything we come from. We're the Midwest. It's a great place to raise a family. There's not a ton of traffic, great food. Now, there's a lot of Trump supporters. I can't help you with that. But other than that, I love it here. It's a great place to be. So
got you. So yeah, definitely is. I would say this: Memphis might fight y'all about the barbecue. But hey,
I know, right? I was waiting on you to say something. But see, y'all use vinegar, and we don't use vinegar like that. Like, that ain't our ministry. We're different in a different way. So y'all got rubs, and we do rubs too. We do rubs and sauces. And I lived in Texas as well, and I feel like I've had Texas barbecue, Kansas City barbecue, Memphis barbecue, New York barbecue, and I would go, if I had to rank, it would definitely go Kansas City, Memphis, Texas, because Texas is just god awful barbecue. Like, Oh, it's so bad. Like, at least y'all use rubs over there too. It's just dried out, not good barbecue. So shout out to y'all for being a little better, but not the best.
All right, and of course we have D coming through, saying hello to everybody.
My girl,
See?
D been killing it. Proud of D.
She's showing up in the 20 AFC South inbox. But of course, I want to talk about growing up. Of course, everyone wants to be a certain different thing when they're growing up. Was there anything in particular that just took your singular focus when you were growing up that, hey, I want to be that when I grow up?
I mean, so I fully believe that crazy people help crazy people. I originally went to school for psychology, and I don't know why. Like, I was like, I'm going to major in psychology. Like, I have no clue why that was the route that I thought I wanted to go. And then I quickly pivoted into business management. But, being growing up in a Black household with both my parents, my mom and my dad. My dad, he is an entrepreneur and has been his whole life. It comes from my whole family. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and then my mother worked for the government. So when I was younger, I didn't know what I really wanted to be. I knew I loved shopping with my mom on the weekends. I knew I loved traveling with my family. I mean, I think I had a passport at 1. So, I mean, I love traveling and doing all those types of things with my family. I know I'm very family oriented. So I couldn't tell you like what I specifically wanted to be when I was younger. But I know once I got to college, I was like, ooh, I want to be a therapist. And then I quickly learned that I loved sports. I loved shopping. I loved spending money. I'm a planner. I'm an organizer. And so that kind of is how I've transitioned my life now as I'm an adult. But yeah, there wasn't anything just specific that I wanted to do because I changed my mind all the time. I love just being in the moment and just having fun, and whatever happens, happens. I was blessed to be able to travel to different countries when I was a child. So that really kind of helped put a different threshold on my adulthood now. So I'm very grateful for my parents because they've definitely molded me into the person that I am today. So.
Okay. So what are some of the kind of the traditions there in Kansas City in terms of like just growing up there that people do and probably nowhere other around the country would just normally do?
Yeah, so Red Friday is one. And I know that sounds like we did Red Friday before the Chiefs were good. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell people. Red Friday has been a thing forever. So what that means is on Fridays, you wear red to support the Chiefs. And it's not just something we do in season. If you were to come to Kansas City, you see people wearing Chiefs gear all year round. You see people wearing Royals gear all year round, KU stuff all year round, Mizzou stuff all year round because it's a sports city. So Red Friday is something that's really big for us. We're also known as the city of fountains. So you come to Kansas City and there's fountains everywhere. And one tradition that we have that is super cool, like right before like the home opener or the first game of the season, they always change the fountains to the color of the team. So they're getting ready to change them blue for the Royals. They do it red for the Chiefs every season too. So that's something that is super cool that I love. Downtown Kansas City, there's an area called the Plaza, the Country Club Plaza. And when you go down there, there's different restaurants, and it's really just like an outdoor shopping center. It's super nice. But one tradition that they have that I actually did a lot with my family too is on Black Friday, they always switch the lights and turn the lights on to kind of change it over to like Christmas. So they do the big tree, like most cities do a tree lighting. We light the buildings on the whole entire Country Club Plaza. And that's something that has went on for years and years and years. And it's just I can't wait to have children so I can take them down there to do that same tradition with them. All the different families are out there, the horse carriage rides, all of this, people wrapped in their blankets, drinking hot cocoa, and just enjoying the moment and getting ready for the holiday season. So those are just some like quick traditions of Kansas City that I can think of. I mean, of course, there's always the barbecue festivals and you go down and everybody's doing the cookouts and you're eating all the food. Like, of course, you're going to have that in a barbecue city. But yeah, those are just some of the quick traditions that I can think about.
Okay, well, you did speak of Red Friday. We're going to get into that in a minute, but of course, that did sound kind of like a Hallmark movie. You were kind of
I know,
explaining
right?
with the trees and everything. I was like, wow,
Isn't it
did I
good?
see this movie somewhere?
I
But
do good at describing my city. When you love it, when you grow up here and you love it here, and then I've lived in different cities too. I've also lived in Chicago. I've also lived in Dallas. Living in those two other cities that also have great sports teams, that's what really made me realize, like, oh, they don't do sports like Kansas City does sports. And even though we are a small market, the people here are very passionate about their team and what's going on and what's happening, whether it's a good season or a bad season.
Okay. All right. All right. We're going to get into that team. The team that you follow. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to talk a little bit about your fandom, those different things. And of course, we're going to talk about the Kingdom Queens podcast as well. But we're going to take first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we'll come right back on Touring the AFC South Women's History Month edition with Jodi Newsom. We'll be right back.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on Touring the AFC South. Now, Jodi, we talked about you kind of growing up and things like that, but we also have to talk about your Chiefs fandom. Of course, it is, you talked about the Red Friday, so we got to talk about Kansas City. And when did you start actually kind of liking or knowing the Kansas City football team and all the little traditions and things like that? Kind of how'd you kind of get into it?
Yeah, so I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life. Came out the womb a Chiefs fan, and I don't actually think I had like a choice. And it's so funny because when I go back to my parents' house, I see just like all of the old memorabilia from just like Chiefs stuff, and I'm like, I want to keep all of this and put this in my she shed. Because once I build a house, I'm gonna have a she shed and put all my Chiefs, all my sports stuff in there. I don't even want to just say Chiefs because I have a ton of sports stuff, but I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life. I didn't really start going to games until I was like 10. And then as I got older, my dad and 4 of my uncles all had season tickets. So I would always just hop on with one of them and go to games. So I'm the fan who was sitting in the cold when we were 2-14 or sitting out there on the 0-16 seasons and freezing at Arrowhead. I mean, you always tailgate. So I guess I could have put that in the traditions category, but you always tailgate when you go to Arrowhead too. So even if it's a good season or a bad season, you're out there with your team and you're having fun. Like even if we suck, we're like, okay, like see you next week. Like see you next week. So I mean, I've been a Chiefs fan my whole life, and my whole family has been. And I literally can't think of like one. There's one person in my family who's not a Chiefs fan, and he was married and he's a Broncos fan. It's my sister's husband. My sister's husband, him. He's the only one who is not a Chiefs fan. But I mean, other than that, like it's been great. Like I said, there's so much just like old history in my parents' house with just like things that they've had from back in the like 70s and 80s. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like my dad had like a starter jacket. I was like, thank you. He had a leather jacket. I was like, absolutely. There's just like the banners and stuff they have hanging around the house. I was like, all of this will be mine. Thank you. So it's kind of cool to see like, just like how how the NFL, not even just the Chiefs, how the NFL has evolved since like 1960 to now. It's really crazy. And even like last night I was watching the franchise, which It's an episode that the Chiefs put out bi-weekly during the season. So yesterday was the last episode of the season. It was the Super Bowl episode, and they showed all these like clips of like Marty Schottenheimer and all his throwback gear, and I was like, oh, how do I get my hands on any of that stuff? That stuff is so good. I'm like, how do I get like that polo or that jacket or that shirt, because I want it. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun here. Been here a long time. I worked for an NFL organization that wasn't the Chiefs, so a lot of people think that I have two fans. But it's like, well, I worked for one, and then I grew up one. So
Got you. Okay. All right. Now, of course, we established that you are a Chiefs fan. Of course, if you haven't been paying attention or listening, then yeah, that's on you. But anyway, what I want to ask is, what player kind of took your fandom of the Chiefs up another level? I know there's got to be one player that you're like, okay, cool, and that you kind of really dug in even more to the Kansas City Chiefs.
So the reason why I love Duran Cherry is because me and his son were born on the same day, same hospital, all that. So my parents kind of grew a relationship with their family. And so it's, for me, it's bigger than football. Like his son and me have the same birthday. Our moms had us at the same time, pretty much. Like we're only a couple hours apart. So I love Duran Cherry. And plus the things that he just did for the organization. Like he was a monster. I mean, but besides that, when you think about, God, there's just so many. When you think about, and I could go through the list, but I'm just like, one, Duran Cherry, love him with like everything in me. But even if I was to go to not as old school, Trent Green, and I know people hate Trent Green, but I love Trent Green. I'm like, people hate Trent Green. I love Trent Green just because for me, it was just like his character, the way he always stayed positive, even though he wasn't that great out on the field. Derek Thomas, I think he's just a staple in the community. You cannot talk about what makes you a Chiefs fan and not mention him or Tony Richardson. I'm going to say T Rich or Tony Richardson or Neil Smith. Or
I didn't know who you were talking about. If you said T Rich, I didn't know who you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many guys that like make you want to love this team even more. I mean, like that 90s defense was crazy. Like you can't get better than what was happening then. So, I mean, when you sit back and just really think about like all the nostalgia of this team, there's not necessarily like one person. It would be more so like situational too. So lots of things that make you just kind of love being a part of this team, even when we weren't winning, right? You're winning only a couple of games, but you're going out and seeing like the impact that they were making. I would say my favorite Chiefs player of all time, though, is Eric Berry. He's my absolute favorite Chiefs player. Especially like him going through having lymphoma and going through that adversity and then being able to come back onto the field. It's just an incredible story to see and watch. So he's my absolute favorite Chief of all time.
Gotcha. And he is from here.
I know he went to Tennessee. Yeah, like he went to Tennessee. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say he's from here, but no, he's from Georgia.
He's from Atlanta, right? Georgia.
Yeah, he's from Georgia. I'm not sure he's from Atlanta, but I know he's from Georgia.
I know he's from Georgia, went to Tennessee, then his brothers went to Tennessee and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't quite work out quite as well for his brothers, but it worked out well for him.
Yeah, worked out great for him. Love him.
But I do have to ask this as well, and of course, I pay attention in the Twitter streets. I pay attention to the fandom of teams. And it seems like to me that the Chiefs fans definitely have a different kind of swag about them. Now, I'm not going to say it's an arrogance. No, it's not an arrogance. It's a confidence. It's an unwavering confidence that maybe if you don't know the person, you can maybe say, "Oh no, that's a little bit of arrogance there." But
yeah.
Now, I've got to ask. I know, some people will say, "Oh, this started when Patrick Mahomes got there and he started winning and these things like that." But I seem to think that it started a little before that. Am I crazy to think that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it started when Pat got on the field, and I love Chiefs Kingdom. Okay, I do. I just need to put that disclaimer out there first. I love Chiefs Kingdom, but there are a lot of people, and this is okay. There are a lot of people who did not become Chiefs fans until Patrick Mahomes started being on the field, and not only being on the field, but winning. There are a lot of fans who weren't here back in the 90s or back in the 80s, and I'm not even that old, but back then where you did see them go through all those losing seasons year after year after year after year. So it's hard for them to really enjoy this moment because this moment is glorious. And there's a lot of people who, yes, are very cocky, but then there's a lot of people who are spoiled. And I can say I'm a part of spoiled Chiefs Kingdom, but I don't think I'm as bad as a lot of the people who are just like, I want everything and we got to go get Jettas today. And it's like, what? Y'all know we're broke, right? We're broke. We don't have any money. We can't go get Jettas, even though I would love Jettas. We can't afford that, man, right? So, no, I do think a lot of it started once the Chiefs started winning. And then I think that back-to-back win it kind of put some people over the top. And I was just talking to my podcast co-host about this, and we were like, man, it is ruthless out in these streets right now. Like, you can't say anything to anybody without anybody being offended about anything. And I do think that back-to-back has a lot to do with the confidence. And I mean, it's okay. Like, I don't think that's bad. Like, Chiefs lost 6 games this year. Nobody expected them to go to the Super Bowl, let alone win. So I get it. But yeah, no, I think a lot of it majorly started when Patrick Mahomes got on the field.
Gotcha. So yeah, definitely
Because
with the success.
Before that, you had Trent Green, and even though he was good, he wasn't getting us past the first round of a playoff game. Like, he wasn't getting us out of the divisional round. So it's this is great, but we're going back home again, so nothing is really happening. So
I got you. Well, we can't skip over Alex Smith though. Can't skip over him. Yeah, and then Alex. Yeah, I
mean, Alex and Trent were the same. Alex wasn't getting us nowhere either.
Well,
and I love AS11, and I'm really glad that he was able to still have his career when he left. His injury sucked. I'm glad he was kind of able to come back from that. I believe he
tried to come back out there.
He came back.
I think he tried to come back out there.
He came back, but it wasn't long. Like, it was
and
that was a horrific injury for him. So I'm glad that he was able to overcome that, because I think he was also somebody who was a great staple in our community. But them two dudes, they wasn't getting nowhere. As much as we love them, they wasn't getting over the hump. And the goal is to find a franchise quarterback, and Lord, we somehow did.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's similar to the quarterbacks that those two quarterbacks, Trent Green and Alex Smith, do kind of remind you of some of the myriad of quarterbacks that Andy Reid had in Philadelphia before he got to Kansas City. Because, who can forget Detmer back there at quarterback playing for him in Kansas?
What's his name? Redhead. I think it was that Carson Wentz. Him.
No, Carson. No, Carson was before him. I think Carson was after him. He was gone. He was gone at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but he was. But still, like, Andy Reid has went through a cycle of a few quarterbacks as well. I mean, and it's funny though, because when you think about like Bill Belichick, right, and he had Brady for so long and was able to be so successful with Brady, and then once Brady left, he wasn't able to keep that switch going. So those are the things that prove to me that Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL, because he was able to get a little bit of success. I mean, he got a Super Bowl with both teams. So I'm like, okay, that is what makes me say he's the best coach in the NFL, because Belichick can't do that. He could only do it with one quarterback.
Yeah, well, I got it for a different reason why I got Andy Reid as one of the best coaches. Well, I got him one of the best coaches of all time. But anyway, this is the reason why.
Agreed.
This is the reason why I do. Because there is a man on your coaching staff that was his number one wide receiver at one point, and I'm still trying to figure out how they were winning with him. Now, for those that aren't aware, there's a man named Todd Pinkston that is on the coaching staff of the Kansas City Chiefs. And he was the number one wide receiver when the Eagles went to the NFC Championship game. Now, if you look at Todd Pinkston and overall in his career, he never really had any success past being in Philadelphia. Basically none. But that year, he was the number one wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, which it was kind of unbelievable that Andy Reid was able to make him a number one, and then they were also able to get the NFC Championship with him as number one. So
He's
that's
a
why
magician.
yeah, definitely.
I'm like, he's a
definitely
magician. I mean, because well, we're not talking Chiefs yet, but he's a magician. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. So, I do want to talk about, of course, your podcast, Kingdom Queens podcast. Now,
yes,
I know all of you all are Chiefs fans. I've seen you out there, doing your thing and saying your opinions and having fun. But how did this idea kind of come about?
man, KQ. So there were these guys who reached out to us and they asked us if we were interested in starting an all-female podcast. So for me, this is also when like I kind of first like really started getting back on Twitter, because Twitter was hot in college and then it was not, and then it kind of picked up again. And then one of my really, really good friends, I look at him like a brother, Mark Gunnels, he was like, get on Spaces. And I was like, what are Spaces? Like, what is that? So he was the one who introduced me to Spaces, and the guy who like kind of connected us, he was like, I want you guys to do a podcast. He was like, you guys know ball. Y'all have been Chiefs fans forever. We need an all-female podcast in Kansas City because there's not one. And so he kind of connected us. And then that's when me and Lexi met, because I didn't know Lexi before then. And I was like, okay, like, I don't like how I sound. One. B, my memory's not that great. So I'm like, we can do this, but it ain't that great. And so it really just kind of like pushed us to doing something that none of us had ever done before. And when we started, we had 4. And now we're down to 2. It's just me and Lexi. So we're actually taking a break right now on KQ, and we're going to relaunch with the live show in a couple of weeks. And that's just because football season is long for us. So we were like, we're going to take a little bit of a break. But that's how it started. They asked us 4 to get together. We got together. We created a show. The show was amazing. We lost one of our girls, Shelly, because she was overseas and we just could not figure out the time change. She was in London pretty much. So we couldn't get her time frame and our time frame to really align the way that we wanted to, even though she was amazing. And then we just lost Chrissy over the last few weeks just because she has a lot of new changes happening, great things happening in her life. But me and Lexi are gonna keep the pod going because me and her could talk ball all day. So
well, there we go.
That is how Kingdom Queens started, and it's been really good. We've been maybe only a year and a half now. We already got over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, ton of followers on Twitter and Instagram. Like, people actually like us, and well, I won't say like, but people actually like listen to us, and they reshare and they retweet. So it's really cool, the community that we've built, especially with other people in Kansas City who also have like sports platforms that are doing an amazing job too. So it's kind of dope to be the only all-female podcast in Chiefs Kingdom.
Okay. All right. So, of course, you did mention you didn't like the way you sounded on air, and you didn't like the memory. So how did you kind of get over that in terms of kind of pushing towards doing the podcast?
I don't listen. I do not listen. I don't go back and listen to anything. I let my boyfriend and Lexi critique me, and I trust them. I do not go back and listen to any podcast. I've maybe went back and listened to like a half of a podcast episode, and I was like, nope, not doing that. But no, I mean, we get a lot of great feedback, and me and Lexi and Chrissy, we have never heard like really anything negative like about the way that we speak or the things that we say, because we do try to keep it kid friendly, because there are a lot of little girls who listen to our podcast, and we learned that over the last few months. Like, a lot of our male friends, their daughters listen in because they're like, oh my God, it's girls. So we definitely want to try to be like an influence out there for all of the girlies who think they might want to get into a sports space. But yeah, I don't listen. I let them critique me and tell me what I need to be better at. And my boyfriend definitely makes sure that like my stats and my facts are correct. And when they're not, he calls me out on it. So it's really nice to be able to have that. But memory, I think the way that my memory has gotten better is just because I've tried to just talk more sports. Like, I've been invited to shows like yours, which are amazing, or people lots of people ask me to come and just come talk, or come be somewhere, or can you join this, and there's actually something that I'm thinking about doing, but it would consider me turning into a writer, and I don't want to write. I don't want to write, but people have been asking me to start writing too, so I can get into different spaces, because there's more spaces when you start writing as well. So it's something I'm praying about, to see if I have the depth in my life to do something of that edition. But yeah, that's kind of what's helping me get my memory, just talking more about football, or joining spaces, or just having conversation with my friends. And it's usually like the same thing over and over. You kind of learn that, like, oh, okay, well, that's expected, or that we know that's the contract, because Brett Veach always gives that contract out. You know what I mean? So those things just start to retain in your mind after a while.
Gotcha. Definitely understand. And I would say, whoever's telling you about writing, they're giving you the right advice.
I
Definitely.
know. Meg is one. Meg has been yelling at me for probably the last year. That's my girl, Meg. I love you. She's been yelling at me for like the last year to start writing. And then one of the beat writers in Kansas City, who just has like a huge major influence in Kansas City. Everybody knows him. He's on every sports radio show. He's like, you need to start writing, Jodi. And I'm like, I don't want to write. I don't want to write. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you there. But shout out to Meg, and also shout out to Mark Gunnels for sure.
Yeah,
because I
those are both my birthday twin. They're both my birthday twin.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, all three of us have the same birthday, which is crazy. So yeah.
Wow.
And they both write. They both write. And they're like, Jodi, come on. And I'm like, you can't bully me into writing.
Well, of course, I do have one last question for you. Of course, during Women's History Month, I am asking guests, what's one Black woman that's kind of inspired you to kind of do the things that you do? So is there one out there that kind of inspires you or pushes you?
Yeah, so this is going to sound very cliche, but it would be my mother. My mother, the relationship that me and her had while she was alive, I could literally go to her for anything. Like, I could sit down and literally talk to her about any single thing. She would give me straight up feedback. I could be incredibly vulnerable with her. She worked hard, made sure the family was taken care of. She did everything that she wanted to do in her life. She was very happy. So I feel like I owe not only her and my dad the best that I can be as a person. So the reason why, like, I set my goals so high and my standards are so high, to make sure that my family is not only proud of me, but I'm representing my last name the way that I need to. So I would definitely say my mother. And I mean, of course, there's a lot of Black women who are very influential out there. I mean, Michelle Obama, like, everything that she does is just very elegance, class, like everything that you can think of. And so her book is also amazing. She's just a great individual, if I had to think of someone who wasn't my mother. So I love listening to her, reading her words, everything that she has to say, because it's really hard for Black women. It's not easy for us. And it doesn't matter what space you're in, whether it's sports or corporate America or makeup or beauty, or no matter what it is, it's not hard. It's not easy for us. It's always hard for us to get in these different type of rooms. And one thing that we have to do is we have to be able to switch our face. We have to be able to turn it on and turn it off, which is why I have so much respect for Dawn Staley, because she can be her natural self and she doesn't have to change or adjust. But I would say my mother, and I would just say, like, there are so many women out there that are amazing, that are big influences for not only me, but just for so many other Black women that are out there. It feels like we're finally making our way. So yeah.
I understand. Well, of course, we've reached kind of the end of the show, but there is one more section of the show. That is the game section. That's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Are you ready?
No. No, I'm not ready.
Well, ready or not, here we go. But let's see. I've got you got 2 teams to cheer for. You're gonna cheer for you got to cheer for one. Is it the Raiders or the Chargers? Which one are you cheering for?
God bless. It would be no. I don't like either team. I hate both teams. But if
figured.
I had to choose one, I would choose the Raiders just because they finally hired a black head coach. That would be the only reason why. I hate every other individual on that team. But they beat the brakes off of us on Christmas. So a lot of respect. I think them beating us is the reason why he got his job. So kudos to them. We still won the Super Bowl. But yeah, I hate both teams equally the same. So I just want to make sure that's very clear.
All right. You got to pick your favorite player out of these two Chiefs: Nick Bolton or Justin Reed. Which player would you say is your favorite? Either one.
First of all, the amount of Justin Reed slander I had this week for no reason is ridiculous. So I'm going to go with the Mizzou guy, Mizzou, Nick Bolton, because A, he went to Mizzou. B, if you had to, and we actually just had this debate in a space the other day. If you had to go a game without either player, which player would you miss the most because of their impact? And it would be Nick Bolton because he's the green dot. He's the one getting all those dudes in line, getting all those dudes in check on the defense to make sure that they can go out and execute and be the elite defense that they were this year. And that's all I'm going to say. I have nothing to say about Justin Reed.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to dive into music right now. Okay, we've got two songs by SZA. We've got The Weeknd or Snooze. Which song are you picking?
The Weeknd. I think Snooze. And I like Snooze. But they overplayed it so bad. Oh, my God. So bad. But I love The Weeknd. I love SZA. She's a St. Louis. She's a Missouri girl, so love her. But, yeah, we're going to go with The Weeknd.
I did not know she was a Missouri girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I learned something new today. All right. Okay. Now we're gonna go barbecue. We got Gates or we got was it Jack Stack barbecue?
I'm
Which
always
one you
go
going
Gates. With? Gates,
okay.
100%, because Gates is black owned. They the heart of Kansas City. They got the best meat. They got the best sauces. I only go to Jack Stack for sides, even though that is my dinner tonight. That is my dinner tonight. I know that sounds crazy. That's my dinner tonight. But Gates got the best sides. You get the baked beans, the cheesy corn. Jack Stack got the best side, the baked beans, the cheesy corn. They got a jalapeno cornbread. That's pretty darn good. They wings are good. I'm eating wings and beans from there tonight.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna give you one more SZA question, actually. Okay, you got Good Days or Love Galore. Which SZA song are you taking?
That's Thunder. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it.
Okay. I was like, that's Thunder. Did you hear that? I'll probably go Love Galore.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go Love Galore. Yeah.
So what I kind of gather is you like the previous album over SOS. Am I correct?
Yes, but I like SOS. I just only like the first 8 songs of SOS. Like SOS gives A side, B side real bad. Mm-hmm. So I only like the first half of that album. But I love the first half of that album. So yeah.
I can't skip any song on either one of those albums. Yeah. I literally listened to the entire thing all the way through.
So yeah, when I get to the back half of SZA's SOS album, I'm like, all right, I'm pressing the next button on a few songs. So yeah.
I do like I don't like the song I kind of really didn't like as much. The song I really wasn't into as much in the newest album was the song with ODB. I really wasn't into that.
Yeah,
song.
No.
That song I was like, yeah, it's all right.
Or the one about no. Like I think my favorite song on that album. I love Kill Bill. The first 4 songs is like banger after banger after banger. Like that intro and then first 4 songs. But Kill Bill is definitely probably my favorite. And then the one right after that, and I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head.
I think the one she won a Grammy for the collaboration one. Was it Ghost of the Machine? That one?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know she won a Grammy.
I thought she won a Grammy.
So I don't watch TV in real life. I only watch sports.
Look, honestly, I didn't watch it either. I just saw it. I saw it pop up. That's the only reason I even know. But we've reached the end of 5 questions to answer one choice. We could probably sit here and talk about SZA all day long because we both are big SZA fans. So it is what it is. But yeah, we have reached the end of the show. I want to thank you, Jodi, for coming on. I want to, of course, give you a moment to kind of tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and then also any other information you want to tell them, things you're working on, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Kingdom Queens. Follow us on YouTube at The Kingdoms with the S, Queens with the S. Me and Lexi holding it down. That's been great. On Twitter, it's the name that you see right here. So it's Jodi Newsom. So Twitter, Instagram, find me there. Everything else is private. Those are my only sports pages that I actually like to talk on and be social on. And then what's coming up? The only thing coming up for me is we're getting ready to get in the WNBA season, so I cannot wait. I am doing coverage still for the Dallas Wings, so cannot wait. It's almost draft season, and that is going to take off, and it is going to be, this season is going to be so freaking good. I cannot wait to see how it goes, and I'm just very happy that a lot of people picked up on the WNBA this year, and I feel like college women's basketball picked up big time this year too, and I feel like Caitlin is going to bring a ton of fans to the WNBA, so I just can't wait to see how that takes off, and I cannot wait to cover the whole entire thing. So that's what's next.
Okay, I'm just hoping my Sparks actually do something this year, so that's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, they've made some moves. Y'all got a new head coach over there. So
look, I just want Lexi Brown to be I'm hoping she stays healthy this year, because that shot is sweet. That jump shot is sweet. I like the jump shot. Yeah, I definitely love watching her play.
I mean, I definitely, we'll see how y'all draft, but I do think that y'all should be better than last season. And last season wasn't god awful for y'all either. So y'all were just forget
injuries. Injuries tore us up. Couldn't stay healthy.
That's the thing about the WNBA. You can't really have a bench. So it sucks because you can't go as deep as you can in the NBA. So when you have players that get injured, you have to go do, 1-day contracts or 14-day contracts and bring people in who haven't really meshed with your team. So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in the WNBA that needs to happen, but that's another day and another conversation.
All right. Well, this conversation, I've been the host of the conversation. My name is Mike Patton. Of course, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePatton82. Yes, I say the artist formerly known as Twitter because I want to pay homage to Prince. The artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah. But of course, you can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE. _general_MP. Of course, you can find Tour in the AFC South on all listening platforms. That'd be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. And we're also on YouTube as well. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South. We are out. Peace.
Bye.